Hi, there you are, friends. Hi, Doc South. Boy, it's I was last night as I lay in bed. I was thinking about how the Chatterbox, well, will be closing its doors soon, and I don't know. My mind got to drifting at what a great gig it was for me as a DJ. I think I've talked about all the various good things Don Hall has done with the Chatterbox over its time with us. I've talked about the kids that have learned a really good trade and good, not so much a good trade as much as they learned good working skills. I think I've spoken about the Wanderers and the good things they have accomplished with their cruise night. I, I, I just realized, I guess it hit me last night. My God, what a gig it was for me as a DJ. You figure I was there, I think, from the very start. It seems to me there was, of course, the Chatterbox, before it was the Chatterbox, was Sonny's Drive-In, and I would on occasion, not always, but quite often, I would DJ for Sonny. And in fact, I think I did his very first cruise night. There were so many people that poor Sonny actually ran out of food. Yeah, there was just nothing else he could do. I don't think he expected what the turnout was going to be. And but people forgive and forget. It would happen to anybody, I guess. It was honestly, it was just a massive onslaught of people coming in. And but when it eventually became the Chatterbox instead of Sonny's Drive-In, I guess I was DJing a car club that I don't think is around anymore. They were known as the Drifters, and they had me come in and play some tunes. And Don liked what he heard, and next thing you know, he hired me to ask me to be the Saturday night DJ, and that was about 15 years ago. I'm thinking it has to be in that neck of the woods, and I pretty much have been there ever since. I think, except maybe for when I had my heart operation, a hernia operation. I think once when I went on a rare vacation. I think other than that, and maybe a blizzard may have stopped me. Most cases, though, I got there because I got to say, I always loved DJing there. It's funny, I was, real quick, I was a DJ on a college station, a local college station that got out really good with its signal, WNTI over in Hackettstown. And I remember I'd get a call from a fellow who was traveling, commuting during my airtime, which was like 9 to midnight. This guy was on his way home from working at NBC, and he was saying his name was Sonny of Sonny's Drive-In. Yep, and he was a director with NBC. I think I said that, but in case, and he Sonny, as I recall, used to do the he was like the director for the space shuttle, or I'm sorry, the space program, satellite recoveries, etc. He'd usually be out on a Navy carrier waiting for the shots of the returning space implement or vehicle, whatever it might have been, and he was very good at it, from what I hear. And I remember he'd call me sometimes, "Hey Doc," he says, "I love your show." He says, I'm thinking of doing, putting together a place, and he described literally to a T the Chatterbox. He had it built, and it's, and I remember thinking, I remember asking him, I said, "Hey, if you need a DJ for that," he says, "Well, I just might." Next thing you know, I got hired, and when Sonny's closed it down. He found it was pretty hard to run a restaurant, and he's right. Eventually got bought by Don, and like I've explained, I wound up being the DJ there. You figure probably what 16, 17, 18 years I've been going to that place on a Saturday night. Rather interesting. I did some real quick stats. Oh, well, real quick, I was going to say, no, let's do the stats. If you figure if we just go with the Chatterbox portion of the, when the building was the Chatterbox, I was there about 15 years, I think. So, and if you do the math, it comes out to basically 52 weeks a year, 15 years, 8 hours for the Saturday gig, or actually more like 6 hours. But then I often worked 3 or 4 hours on a weekend or a Friday night, what have you. So I figure I put in about just over 6,000 hours. Yeah, 6,000 hours there, playing about 20 songs an hour, right? Give or take, and oldies about 2 to 3 minutes, right? Allow a little time for talk. And that comes out to, I think, if you do the math, 125,000 songs. Yeah, 125,000 songs played. Wow. And as near as I know, except for people sometimes saying they couldn't hear me talk, which often will be the case in a crowded, noisy atmosphere, that people get to talking amongst themselves at the Chatterbox, and my talking they may or may not hear. But I would get that for a complaint. And then there was one, other than that, the only other complaint I can think of was one guy came up to me one day and he said, "Hey, you had your microphone on. My God," he says, "why were you singing to all those songs?" Well, I told him, I said, "I always sing to the songs. I normally have the mic off. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was on." And I remember he was kind of sore. He said, "You got an awful voice." And out he went. Well, he might have been right. It's you know how you can't help yourself with those, yeah, with when those oldies are playing, you got to sing along. If nothing else, you got to take over the bass part just in case something happens to the bass man. Oh pop, oh pop. Yeah, you got to do it, and or tap your toe, bop around a bit. And anyway, that was, I think, the only complaint I could say I had. Sometimes people wonder, hey, you don't have one song or another, but most cases I found what people wanted. And so for me, mostly it was just a smile fest. Let's see. There was, the other thing I'll miss, one thing I'll miss about the Chatterbox is they had a photo, I think, from the Dukes of Hazzard. I think one of the policemen who was always chasing the Dukes, the Duke boys, he had a basset hound. And I can't think of the name of that basset hound. I should. But it's like a publicity photo, and he and the hound are posing. And usually before I would do a gig, I'd walk into the men's room, to take care of business, because, those songs are short. You can't go running in there later. And if you can't get, it's pretty hard to go in there when you got a 2-minute song running. So a lot of people say, wonder why that DJ's bopping around like that. Yeah, well, yeah, DJ's under pressure. So I usually ran in there, and on the way into the men's room, there's this photo again of this Dukes of Hazzard deputy, I think, and a basset hound. And I used to rub the basset hound's nose for luck. Yeah. And oh, my heavens. I got to thinking, they always fed me at the Chatterbox. Again, another great gig. Not too many gigs do you get fed. And I figure I've eaten approximately a half a mile's worth of chili dogs. Yeah. Yeah, I know sometimes I get a cheeseburger, but usually it's a chili dog. If they're a foot long, yeah, about 25,000 feet, because sometimes I get the double dog basket. As I got older, I kind of just went with the single. So I think of the people I've met. I met, Cindy Williams, Paul Lamont, Henry Winkler from Happy Days. Cindy Williams, a wonderful person. The 1910 Fruit Gum Company used to come in, send their grandchildren over to request, a 1910 Fruit Gum Company song. The Duprees were at the Chatterbox. Various wrestlers, other doo-wop groups. I think one guy from, it'll come to me. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names, but one of the singers from the Bronx, I wish I could think of their song. It was a great song. Well, it'll come to me maybe. The Regents, so it would have been Barbara Ann. Yeah, Barbara Ann. Okay, there you go, got it. named the regions for the street they sang on. I guess Regency Street or Regent Street. There were barbershop quartets have come in on occasion. I got one to sing a very good barbershop rendition of "In the Still of the Night" with a good doo-wop flair to it. They sang that live for everybody. I think of all the kids that have gotten a chance to see a record. And actually, usually what I would do is I'd let them start the record. Yeah, I'd show them what button to push, and they'd push the button and hear the sound start. Yeah, that was always an eye-opener for them. Of course, I took in at least 10 grand, maybe a little more than that, at the Chatterbox for Operation Uplink. I assume I probably entertained somewhere slightly over 1 million diners at the Chatterbox if you add it up. Actually, more like about 1,200,000, I think. It had to be somewhere in that neck of the woods over all that time. Unless I'm doing the math wrong, that's what I get. It's just amazing. I managed to play for Lou and Arlene, two of the main folks with the Wanderers Car Club. Their song, "A Casual Look" by the 16s. Most people don't even have that song, but I got it. I play it for them, and I always get a yeah from Lou. For doing that. "Beyond the Sea," that by Bobby Darin. Play that for Don. I'll bet you I've played that a couple hundred times, and in fact more than that, probably well more than that. It's just, I don't know, just amazing. I figure there was probably about 350 cruise nights. Yeah, almost a year's worth of cruise nights. Corvette night, a good 75 to 80 of them, I think, in that neck of the woods. It was just, to me, such an honor to be part of it. Plus, of course, I observed all those great kids at the Chatterbox who eventually grew up in all cases to be people who I think will be movers and shakers for the next generation coming up. They're fantastic kids. And I got a lot of stories from people, interviews. Gosh, and my own little spot, yeah, which was kind of neat. I've always been honored to have that. It's sort of like a little control booth, much like the old radio hosts did back in the 50s. A place like the Chatterbox would ask the local DJ to come in and do maybe a Saturday afternoon show, from their restaurant. I remember many of those shows being quite good. Anyway, to me, it's been an honor, and I can't be. I know it's ending soon, but it was a good run. You can't. I sure can't kick. It was quite the place. God, love a duck. It was great. Oh, I wish it could continue, but things do. Stuff does come to an end, and I got to say, there's at least what remaining time I have on Earth. I got plenty of pleasant memories to go through, and it's to me, all I can be is thankful. That's about it, and cheerful I was part of it. Yeah. It's almost like, I guess, how a sailor must feel when, when they've been on a ship a long time. How they get to love it. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, well, that's a wrap. Oh, and my webcast. Oh, my gosh, yeah. My webcast emanated from the Chatterbox every Saturday for years. And, we got out into California. We got local, of course. We had listeners in Australia. I think a couple in China. Europe, again, all over the place. That was pretty neat too. Get right down to it. Anyway, okay, enough said. All I can say is thank you. Gosh, it was great. Okay, let's get this.